Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wild Woman Podcast. Today, I have Dee O'Connor with me, and she is from Tipperary in the southern region, Munster of Ireland, beautiful part of the country. And Dee has a story to tell for sure, and many strings to her bow, which we'll get into. But I love here, she said she's a new sort of overarching theme to all of the work that she does now called Heal, which I think is beautiful because just reading and learning a little bit about what she does, I think it just seems to encapsulate that, whether it's through a lot of her sound healing work, bioenergy work that she does. I know there's other aspects that you have added to, and we'll talk through that. And she also, with her partner, Carl, runs Ancient Spiritual Tours of Ireland, which we can talk about. Well, what's most interesting? So, firstly, welcome, Dee, to the
Thank
podcast.
you.
Really
Thanks
happy
for
to
having
have you
me.
here. Yeah, delighted, delighted. It's lovely to feel that connection, and I feel more and more of us are connecting, who are on that path of healing and on that path of growth and self-discovery. We're all finding each other, it feels, at different points. So, what I always like to do, because I just think it gives a sense and a flavor of really the person and the journey they've been on, because I think we all benefit from hearing each other's journeys and stories. So just as much as you want to share, I know you were a hotel manager before you got into all of this. So
Yeah.
which I think is brilliant because it is something I think many, and I have been the same, often feel, oh my God, we look at someone and say they're really doing their work and their mission work or whatever you want to call it. And I can't, like, I'm just stuck in something I'm doing. So I think it's really powerful to share how this is nearly all of our stories. We go on a journey. So maybe
Yeah.
you might start by sharing, firstly, how you got into hotel management and just really what has started this
Yeah.
path for you.
Wow. Okay, I will try and keep it as short as possible.
No pressure.
Um, I where do I start? Midpoint, I suppose, being a hotel manager. The reason I became a hotel manager was I needed to get a real job. I had lived in Amsterdam for 9 years previous to coming back to Ireland and studying hotel management. And I suppose I grew up living in Holland and working with the lily bulbs and the tulips and all of that stuff. And I one of my brothers passed away when I was over there, and this was 2001. And I suppose I was getting this pull that I needed to come home. And that's how I stepped back to Ireland. It took me a year to figure out what to do after going through the grief process. And actually, within 10 months, my second brother passed away. Two separate freak accidents. One was a motorbike, one was a fall in a hotel from a balcony. And both of them, one was 20, going 21, one was going 23. I was 27 at that stage. And then there was only my mother left because my dad had died when I was about 9. So you can see the theme of
Oh,
where I started and my transition through life. A lot of grief, a lot of trauma. And like my whole world ended at that stage. But I that acknowledgement that I needed to come home gave me at least 6 months with one of my brothers who passed away after the 10 months of my other brother. So that was a gift in itself. And again, it was this, he was going off to Australia and he's like he was tag teaming me, going, it's your turn to mind mom, you know? And that was fine. It just worked perfectly. But rewinding back to Amsterdam, Amsterdam was one of these places where in the 90s you met the most amazing people there and they were doing the most amazing things. And I remember one of my friends had cancer and he was really bad. They couldn't find the primary tumor. They only could find the secondary stuff. And they got 14 Reiki masters together and worked on him. And I was at a distance watching this and studying it and going, wow, wonder what Reiki is, how's it working, all of this. So I studied with his girlfriend at the time, Reiki, and
okay.
that was under my belt, Reiki 1. Yay, forgot about
Yeah.
got on with life.
I think we've all I think I did that in the midst of some crisis and
Yeah,
then like off again.
exactly. Gone in my own little world. But there's always been these little threads that come back to me because as a child, I remember being in my bed and being able to come up out of my body and walk around the house.
Wow,
It
to
wasn't thought.
levitate basically or more than that.
Mm.
Travel.
Yeah,
Astral.
astral
Yeah.
travel, basically.
Mm.
And that just came back to me that I used to actually meditate when I was a kid in my bed. Sure, nothing else. There was no radio, there was no telly, there's no internet. What are you doing? You're lying there. And that's one of the things that came back to me after years. I'd forgotten I used to do that. Now I went to a psychic circle and I'm trying to learn it. It was like, but it was a remembering because I'd already done it as a child. How did a child know how to do this? There was no book. Think of us when we were kids.
Mm.
There was no books. There was no people talking about this stuff. It was
No.
coming from the ether. It was coming in somewhere, you
Yeah.
know?
Probably called
Um,
daydreaming or distracted or low attention or something or whatever they, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's amazing. Okay.
I'm plugged into the super consciousness kind of a thing. But
Or maybe hadn't unplugged at that stage. I don't know.
that's it.
When
That's more like it actually. You've hit it there.
mm,
Yeah,
mm.
not
Or
unplugged.
hasn't been blocked up or shut off, all that layers of
Mm.
conditioning maybe hasn't had time yet to,
Yeah,
I
and
don't know.
trauma and life
Mm,
and everything.
mm.
I think once you hit that teenage year, you go from 12 to 13, say, or sorry, 10 to 13, you're beginning to socialize, not even socialize. What's the word I'm looking for? You're beginning to be influenced by the culture around you. So it's not normal to be doing this, it's not cool, So you're
Yeah,
moving into that space of being normalized, and this is how a human being works. And in
fit
Ireland,
in.
yes, in Ireland, we had the Catholic Church on top of us, which was even more so. Um,
Mm.
and I was even talking to my partner yesterday. He was like, how were you influenced by the Catholic Church? What you wore, even it came down to. Like I remember,
Mm.
button up your shirt all the way up to the top. You don't show the neck.
Yeah, I know. But I remember even our local church, my mother saying, and I think I was young at that stage, you couldn't show your shoulders
Hmm.
going in, like if it was in the summer and a hot day.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
mean, and that was just accepted. Like it's the level, it's just, yeah, what you're touching on there is the level, it's the level of it that, it's not even just maybe really dark stuff. It's sort of, it's so insidious. Like it's just been sort of everything. And we just sort of went along like
We're
it's,
programmed,
yeah, so programmed.
totally
Yeah,
programmed.
yeah, yeah. But the
Uh,
layers of it, I think, are
yeah,
just, I'm still, and I think probably till the day I die, I've heard a beautiful seer, I think she is Amanda Lawrence in the UK. I don't know if she often talks about, she said one day, and it really resonated with me, as the frequency is rising on the planet, we are getting sort of hotter and you have all these coats on basically
yeah.
all the conditioning and literally as the frequencies run you're taking a layer off like 40 coats, another layer, another layer, another layer, and
Love it. That's
yeah,
beautiful.
isn't it? It's just an
Yeah.
undoing and unlayering. I just always think back to 40, is it 40 coats that was in Wanderley Wagon or
Verticals
something?
and something
Yeah,
pockets.
yeah, and it just reminds me of that. You're getting hotter. You can't sustain all the coats
Yeah.
because it's just too much. You won't survive.
Mm,
So we have no choice
yeah.
but to take them off. So
Oh.
sorry, yeah. So you obviously were in a very maybe traumatic way. The coats
Mm.
started maybe to come off, or how?
Well, yeah, I suppose being in Amsterdam, you dabble in weird and wacky stuff as you do back in the day. Like there was mushrooms, there was LSD, there was you name it, you had a little dabble. And sitting, like I used to work in a coffee shop. I used to sell marijuana legally.
God,
You're
for a
sitting,
Galway, not a Galway, sorry, an Irish girl,
yeah.
bro.
Yeah, but
You
there
over.
was a lot of Irish in this space as well. But like sitting with people, we talked about the most amazing things. We went so deep, so far. It just it blows your mind open, really and truly. And I suppose that propels you forward with the experience with the Reiki, seeing what it did for my friends, um, then having to come home and be normal. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get a
And can I
normal.
just ask you, sorry, Dee, what brought you there? Was there a calling? So, like you at school here, like what drew you to Amsterdam?
I actually studied to be a chef. And
Okay, that's
for
great.
some reason, a lot of people wanted to make some money to go traveling. And there was the lily bulbs.
Mm.
It was a thing that a lot of Irish people did. You were taken out in plane loads to go and clean the lily bulbs. And that's how I got into Amsterdam. You're laughing, were you one of them?
No, but I remember it now, but I didn't. I went to Copenhagen, I think. I was in a hotel
Yeah.
in the red light district, which I had no idea. We innocently arrived and got a bus to the hotel, and then someone said, "What's going on here?" So it was a little bit of a
Oh,
wake up, a little bit of an education at the age of 18 or 17.
I
Yeah.
know, I know. But it opens your eyes to the world.
Mm,
Yeah.
it does.
Um, but yeah, where was I? I got drawn home because of my brother passing away. And yeah, it was just slowly getting through that. And then I was just coming around. I was working in a hotel in Limerick City. I was a hotel manager. I was working away. Life was good. I started to purchase a house, and this was 2008, we'll say, just before the recession.
Hmm.
Everything was tickety-boo. Um, and then I think 2010, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. And I was like, wow. So I just moved into my house. So I just moved out of my house back into her house. And 2011, she passed away. And I minded her, cared for her for 3 months. In that time, I was listening to a radio station, which was an online spiritual radio station, Blog Talk Radio back then. He was coming from America. They were talking about Reiki, angels, meditation, Zen, Buddhism, blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't get enough of it. Energy work, you name it.
Mm,
And I'm coming home, I was working probably 12 hours a day, coming home, listening to this radio station, getting up at 5, 6 o'clock, going back into work. And I had this pull between corporate and spirituality. Yeah, this
mm,
constant pull.
mm,
I was firing, I was hiring, I was doing what the CEO was telling me to do. It wasn't sitting right in me. Yeah, it
mm.
didn't match my values anymore and what I was moving into. As I said, my mother got sick and I took care of her for 3 months and she passed away actually on the solstice, June 2021.
Wow.
And it was a big change because all of a sudden I've lost my two brothers. My dad had already died. Now my mother's died. A full family
Oh
wipeout.
my God.
Yeah,
How was, oh my God. How many
yeah.
years were there between your brothers and your mother? Did you say there
I
was about
believe exactly 10 years.
exactly 10
10
years?
years
Okay.
and 10 days with one of them. Yeah, yeah, bizarre, bizarre. And she waited, like death is an amazing thing. She waited to hear from the organ donor recipient of one of my brothers. He used to always write a little letter. I'd say he got an organ when he was maybe a baby, and we watched him grow up. And she waited for that letter to come in from this child to go, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And once you got that letter, it was like as if, right now I can actually slip away and go. When I was minding my mother in the hospital, she used to catch her leg and pull it in. And of course, it left nail marks on the back of her leg. And I used to rub cream on it when she was at home and making sure it was all nurtured. And she turned around one day and she goes, "You've got healing hands." And then, of course, what's going on in my head going, oh no, I should have learned Reiki better, right? I should have kept going with it. And if I could, what could I have done for her? Yeah.
Mm,
This what
mm,
if narrative going on. Um, so after she passed away, I remember lying in my bed and having this, how the fuck, excuse my language, how am I going to continue with life? Whole family wiped out, a job I don't want. What do I do? And it's even down to like, who am I going to go to dinner with? Because of the grief, I totally throw myself into the job,
mm.
right? So there was no friends, there was no family. That was it. Now, I can tell
Oh
you,
my God, Dee, that is the path of the Was it the wounded
The
healer?
wounded
Like,
healer.
I
Yeah,
mean,
totally.
yeah, it
Yeah.
truly is. Yeah.
And I remember I had two escape offers from God, the divine, whatever you like to
Mm,
say. I remember probably about 6 months before my mother passed away, we were driving in a car, and she was driving quite quickly because it was a main road, but a bull ran into the middle of the road. She slammed on the brakes, and literally we're only inches away with a full-on collision with a massive bull.
which you would
Who
not
knows?
survive.
Yes, exactly. Who knows what that would have looked like? The next one then was, as like my aunt was with my mother. I went to get something to eat. I grabbed some cooked chicken someone had left in to us, knocked it back, but it went with my breath. It got caught here in my throat. I could not breathe. So it was literally no oxygen going in. I went down. My aunt thought I was getting sick. She's like patting me on back. I'm trying to tell her I'm actually choking. I have no breath. Help. Somehow, I have no idea how I did it, but I got air in through my nose, down into the lungs, enough to push out the bit of chicken. But like, that was like an offer of an exit. And that was a week before
Mm,
my mother died.
okay.
So, yeah,
Yeah. The universe, my God, you sound like you're really being squeezed into, it's a
yeah,
choice here. It's not easy,
that was an offer. That was an
Yeah,
offer for
yeah,
leaving. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's for
And
sure.
you obviously weren't necessarily conscious of that, did you feel at the time, or is it just, but it's that I heard someone, it just sounds maybe not exactly the same. It's a story that's always stayed with me. This man who described a time of his life when he was wanted to commit suicide,
Mm,
and he planned it. He drove in, he got a taxi in to Galway City. He stood on the bridge. He literally was he jumped in. He
yeah.
said as soon as he jumped,
Mm,
he hit the water and his instinct was to come up for air. And
yeah.
the minute he did that, he said he knew he wanted to live, but he was caught in the river. And whatever happened, he got caught in a rock, he got out, hopped in the same taxi and went home and started his life again. But I wonder sometimes, is it, and I've experienced that through cancer, there is,
Mm,
even if it's in some level unconscious, there's a choice there. You can exit through this
yeah,
unless you change.
yeah,
This came up for me recently with someone, or you can exit, yeah, you can exit now, or you can change. And you know,
totally.
yeah,
I mean,
it sounds like you got that.
yeah, I definitely got an offer to leave. Definitely.
Mm. What do you
And
think? Why do you think that happens?
uh, I mean, if you just look back, it was traumatic up to that space. And it's like, do you want to go or do you want to stay?
Mm.
And I know, God, I could go back to my birth as well. Like I was born a cesarean section, an emergency cesarean section. Um, and like literally my mother died on the table. She was resuscitated and brought back. She was gone for a good minute. And she used to tell this story. She never met anyone in this beautiful light and energy, but she said this the vibration of it. She knows there's something else outside. Have I jinxed again?
A little, you're back again.
Okay,
It
the
just
internet gone
sometimes,
again. Sorry, where was
okay.
I?
No, no, you're fine. You were talking about your mother there. So do you feel so did your mother have that sort of very spiritual connection that she talked about as you grew up? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just total faith. Um,
Mm,
and she did put it into the Catholic Church, but actually, when she was passing away, she didn't want anything to do with the priest. She picked her priest that she wanted to say her mass. And you know the way the priests come visit all the time for someone that's on their dying bed. It can be intense, and she's like, no, don't want any of that, and I'll have
don't
that
need
priest
that.
to say my mass.
I have a direct line anyway,
Yeah, yeah,
on another level.
yeah.
It's getting too late now to be going through an operator or a
Exactly.
third. Yeah, yeah.
So going back to that, there's that experience. I could have lost her there. Okay. Also, my two brothers would never have been born.
Mm,
Mhm. So sometimes as souls, I believe we choose a vessel, being our bodies, to come in and have an experience of, it could be, maybe it's only birth, and then it's an early child is dying, or maybe you just want to be as far as a teenager. My brothers obviously only wanted to get as far as 20 and do whatever they needed to do. And it's like, once your job's done, you get this choice, go or
Yes.
stay. And maybe then we get a higher maybe is the wrong word, but another job or
Yes.
mission, and I don't even believe that we take on a duty or something we want to do and create in this planet.
Yeah, like
You know?
is it like initiations often you hear, it's
Yeah.
not passing a test, but you've survived and got through something maybe so challenging, and the option there is
Yeah,
it's always a choice, I suppose, isn't it? We live in a planet of free will, so
totally. Like, as
yeah.
I said, I remember that thought, I can roll in that corner and die, and no one else
Mm,
is going to care. No one else is actually going to blink an eyelid if I rolled up right now and died in that corner. And I was angry. I was angry with God. I was angry with the universe. I was angry with everything. And I remember having this aha moment, and I don't know where it came from. It's like, we're all energy. That's all we are. We're just balls of energy going around the universe. Whatever it looks like, whatever it feels like, that's it. And it's like, I don't know if you can see my tattoo, probably not.
now I can see, yeah, the camera can see it there. Yeah,
Oh,
just yeah, just about.
there's three spirals there.
Yes. Yeah.
There's three spirals there, and there's two circles. Each one of those spiral is me, John, and Timmy, my two brothers, and myself. The next circle is my mother. My next circle is my dad. And that encompasses for me what we are on this earth. We're vibrations, we're energy, we're moving, we're shifting, we're
Mm,
all of that.
yeah.
And it was that
Beautiful.
download in my grief that actually was like, wow. And after that, I got up and I met a beautiful lady that was talking about angels, a good friend of my mother's, talking about angels, talking about energy work, talking about all of this magical stuff. And I was like, right, I need to do a course. And I went and studied bioenergy therapy, and that was my path into the magic.
Wow. So
Yeah.
it all came through. So after your mother passed away, like in coming through the grief, was that, was that something the avenue through for you? Like how did you get help, or that I mean that way I know you said you had aha moments, and obviously something greater takes over. I've had that in my life when you think you can't go on, something just
Have I had help? I mean, I remember being in college studying hotel management, and it was just after my brother passed away. I went straight into college within a couple of months. And I remember being in bed for a week, listening to Coldplay, I think it was, depressed. And I was like, shit, I'm gonna have to do something. I went to the doctor. They sent me to a nun, which is beautiful for counseling. But like, God meant to happen, blah blah blah. It wasn't washing with me. It made me
Mm.
more angry. So yeah, I just sucked it up and got on with life. But when my mother passed away, I met a beautiful group of people in different modalities, and they were my anchor to keep me going. Yeah. And it
Mm.
was like-minded people, people that were not service to self, but service to others. It just lightened me up, and it put me
Yeah.
on a little bit of a, right, I'm following this path. Now, after my mother passed away, I was very lucky to, my boss decided to make me redundant. Yeah. But didn't want to pay me the redundancy. But I was so upset with the whole thing that was going on. I went to my doctor just to get a sick cert for a week. And I met one of my mother's best friends at the front door of the doctor's, and she had me bawling, crying. Went into the doctor, and he'd seen me for months come and visit mom. And he's like, what happened to you? You were doing so well. So I told him the story. 2 years of work related stress, certs, is what I was issued with. And I took those 2 years to heal the grief, to heal me, to do whatever work I needed to do. So from coaching to bioenergy to sound to dance to you name it.
So all of
Yeah.
that came in nearly
Yeah,
together. Isn't that
yeah.
incredible?
So I was so lucky to have that space of work-related stress and the rift between the work to invite me into the healing era, my space to heal me and everything that worked for me. I went out and go, could I use this? Can I build a business from it? And I learned it, you know?
So that
And
got
it
you, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what got me out of the hotel management onto the real path of heal.
Of heal. But wow, and you've earned it. You've earned every letter and
Oh yeah,
every
yeah, yeah.
but it seems to be the case. I don't know if there is another way, but it seems as well when you describe once you make the choice, this is what I'm really interested in because I had my own journey with different things, but I suppose it culminated in cancer. There were other things, and there was the same thing. There is an inner choice, even though people might say, well, because as someone described it to me, you have to take ownership of who you're becoming in this. Are you handing over your illness to someone and then just saying, you fix me? Or are you saying, okay, I am now making choices in my life? And then it starts to shift. But once you make the choice,
Yeah.
and it isn't necessarily because I suppose there are people who could be listening going, well, I'm in a job, nothing. Yes, everybody's had stuff happen to them, of course, but maybe nothing as traumatic as you. And they're going, and I really don't know how to get out of this. I have to pay the bills, I have to pay the mortgage. But what I'm hearing is once there's an inner, and it's my experience too, once on some level there's an inner choice. No, I am open to whatever you relate to, the universe, God, whatever.
Yeah.
You'd have to take the first step and then everything will come into support. You
That's the
have to
easy
sort
way.
of
That's the easy way.
that you take.
That you actually hear that there's a choice and you take the
Well,
action.
yes,
I
yeah.
think you and I have done the hard way, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
well, I'm a very slow learner and I needed like I had probably I dabbled in Reiki, I'd other
yeah,
traumatic things happen, dabbled, ran back
yeah.
to survive, and there's no judgment in any of it. I'm just wondering if there's not an easier route. I'm not saying but the earth is a different place. The frequencies sort of support a different way of being, and there appears to be more people. I'm not saying, yes, they're obviously maybe feeling very burnt out. It may not be a nice, easy choice, but I suppose what I feel is as a word of, I wouldn't say support, or yes, there are hard things you have to go through, but the universe generally, if you internally come to a place, even if it's save me, I can't do this anymore, I need another way. That's my experience to people. Doesn't mean
That's
it's easy. People,
that's what I
places,
call a
things.
hard way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is an easier way, is there?
Well, I think more and more people are coming in open. Like if you look
Yes.
at the 20-year-olds, you look at the
Yeah.
teenagers right now, a
Younger.
lot of them, and it's because of the work we've done. Now, that's not coming from ego or anything. It's kind of a knowing that we have been leading the pathway. Now we've been birthed into this the hard way. Like it was a hard labor to get us
Mm,
in our power and doing what we do. But then you've got the younger people going, oh, sure, look what they're doing. I'd like to do that. You know,
mm.
there was no such thing as a healer, a Reiki master, a bioenergy therapist, a sound therapist when I was in school. It was like, do you want to be a nurse, a teacher, or
The
do you want
bank.
a
Yeah.
trade? Yeah, a bank.
Or the trade. Yeah, trade. You're good enough to go to college or become a hairdresser. No
Yeah,
disrespect to hairdressers. You've got way more gifts than I ever had. But like, you were put in boxes, basically,
yeah,
is what I mean, weren't you? You were
yeah.
sort of, yeah, and they were very limited in one way. Saying about the younger people coming in, I sense that too. I think that's a really interesting yeah, way to look at it. I listened to someone last night and she was talking about three types of not roles is even too narrow,
Yeah.
broad themes or expressions of people now, and you can move between them. Just if people are a bit sort of, I wouldn't say unsettled, for anyone who's on this path, if they're listening to us, I guess they are, of some sort of something awakening in them,
Mhm.
and wanting to grow, and there's something greater. And she put it into, and we move between them. I just literally before I came on to you, there are a lot of people playing almost the yo-yo. Maybe it's the like us, the bridge. You come in and you're over and back, and one day you can be elated and you're sort of drawing in a lot of
Yeah.
the light and the frequencies, and other days you're on the floor crying, and she just called it like the yo-yo. I love that.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, that's what she was saying. It's totally fine. There are others who, and we'll move between these roles. There
Mm.
are expressions, let's say. There are other who are anchors. And then there are others who are like front runners. So they're out in the front of the
Yeah.
fray and they're getting everything thrown at them.
Yeah.
The anchors are sort of holding, they may not appear to be doing much, but they're holding the light and they're passing. the energy through the yo-yos to the front runners. There's sort of, we're all like you
Yeah,
described, there's a web, isn't there? And I'd
I
love to
love
know
that.
how
Yeah.
you see how all of this is unfolding through
Mm.
your work. How are, because I'd love, yeah, so you moved into then all of this energy work and you seem to be, talk a little bit about, I mean, you're doing so much.
Ooh, where to start? I suppose, look, the first thing I put my foot in was bioenergy therapy. And it was what I liked about it. It wasn't, I didn't need symbols, I didn't need angels. It's like I bang my knee, I can put my hand in it, I can call the energy in, and I can heal it. Everyone can do it. Nobody needs to be special or on any hierarchy. So I love bioenergy therapy, but I love teaching. I'm a teacher at
Mm,
heart. I
mm.
love guiding people through that. And that's why I set up the bioenergy school. So I have, plus I get to,
Quality, sorry, I just, it's because I
yeah,
associate you, and we'll talk about this towards the end, but this is more about you. Well, all of it's you, but
yes.
I would have thought more of the ancient spiritual tours of Ireland. And then I said,
Oh,
oh, the
totally.
bioenergy school of Ireland. Sorry, I didn't know
Yeah.
that was
There's,
you.
that was me. That is me. But the reason I get to teach people the bioenergy therapy, I get to touch more people out there in the world. So I teach six, eight people. They go out and they can treat more people. And it gets that healing vibration and invitation into healing to more people. So that excites me.
I can see it in you, yeah. And I can see you
Um,
be an amazing teacher. You have that very unassuming quality as well, which I think is
okay.
lovely. You know,
Yeah,
it's not,
thank you.
it's a really, yeah, just
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful,
I
yeah.
like to have fun with everything
Mm,
I do and keep it joyful and light and
yeah.
none of the heavy.
Yeah.
That's, I can be a moon tour. I can be a teacher.
I think a lot of good moon tours come from Tipperary. My grandparents were the headmaster and mistress of the local primary school, and then
Okay.
a lot of my father's family. So there seems to be a lot of
Yeah.
teachers around that neck of the
There's the good
woods.
ley lines.
A lot of good ley lines.
So
um,
the next thing then was the sound therapy, the sound healing. I've done sound healing for 11, 12 years now. And it just transcends people. It takes people on a journey. I go into a little Zen space, love sharing that. What else do I do? God, RTT, rapid transformational therapy, is where I go, and this is where my stuff around the mind is. So the sound, the energy work is the energy, the spirit kind of area. The mind, my God, it's an amazing thing that we have there. The brain, the mind, and how it works is like literally the way you present in front of the world is a collection of your coping mechanisms and your traumas.
mm,
And we are not aware of that.
that's a very powerful statement, I have to say. That
We're getting
really.
triggered, we're flying off
Mm,
base. Yeah, yeah. And when you realize that, you get to look at the world in a completely different way. Yeah,
mm. So
yeah.
what do you do then with people? That's very interesting. I was literally triggered into what you have described there. It was like, I think we've had a lot going on. I know
Yeah.
this, anyone could be listening to this podcast at any time, but we've just gone through this big full moon and all of the energy shifts in August 2024. And they're always ongoing, but
Mm.
something like that came up, this realization that I am, you're being presented with whatever traumas by the situations. It's nearly like, is it time for them? How would you see that? Is it as they come up, it is time, maybe there's a readiness to start looking at them and healing them? Would
Once you
you,
see them, you have
once
to
you
see
see
them.
them? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
I
once you
saw it big
see
time.
it,
Didn't want to,
I
but
know. Look, there's so many ways you can deal with it. Like I'm trained in the hypnotherapy, the regression, to go in there, find the root cause, help you do the healing work. It could be the inner child work that you need to do. Maybe it's the reparenting. There's a
mm,
lot of stuff there. But I mean, just for people in general, just basically sitting with it, seeing where you feel it in your body, because we lock a lot of the feelings and emotions into the body. So this is where the somatic side comes in. But journaling, just
mm,
writing it down. you know, giving it off to the universe, putting it into the fire, burning and letting it go, but also acknowledging and being grateful for the trigger.
Yeah.
It's literally a
Mm.
mirror. It's showing you something huge that you need to look at. And I think, like you said, we can take a layer and then another layer comes up. And I remember one of my teachers said to me, it's not like layers of an onion, which is the old way of thinking. Remember when you were a kid and you had milk in a straw and you blew bubbles into it? There were
Mm.
small bubbles and big bubbles and bigger bubbles, and there was all different weird layers. That's our shit. That's our stuff. So you pop one and another pops up in this place, and it pops another one and it might go lower, and it's literally the constant popping and changing.
Yes, it sounds more quantum than linear or something. It's
Yes, yes,
more,
onion is linear, but
yeah,
as you
this
know,
is sort of, it's whatever is in that moment and whatever is being, yeah, and sometimes unrelated, and yeah, it can be out of left field
mm,
in one way. So is that sort of in terms of the work then you do with clients? You're obviously working on many levels depending on what people need if they,
I will tell you, I work with female
yes.
entrepreneurs to help them move from A to B, whether that's they want more clients, they want more money, they want more freedom. But at the end of the day, I'm working with you and I'm working with your soul. I am working with your energy. I'm going deep. Yeah. Because that is where we need to go. We need to find that programming. And as you know, we can be programmed by the television, we can be programmed by our parents, our society, the schools, wherever it's coming in. Even it could be just, I had a beautiful client who thought she was ugly. Now, this client, she's the most beautiful girl you could ever imagine. My God, she's stunning. But because when she was about, I would say it was 7 or 8, if I remember rightly, a friend of her brother's called her ugly, just joking. And that stuck with her for the rest of her life.
Mhm.
Programmed locked in, doesn't like to show up, hates herself on video, hates herself anywhere. And that's it just takes going in, finding the root cause, doing the healing work around that, and clearing it, and just reinforcing the new belief in her mind. She was able to conquer it. So, yes, that's the
Yeah.
magic that I do in that section.
And do
Um,
you tell, I find this really interesting. I've met some people, I think, um, who are doing this work, but don't always necessarily, depending, you're working with female entrepreneurs, so maybe some of them are, and maybe some aren't. Are they open to what you're doing, or do you, what was the word? Do you present it in a different way? Like
I have to
how,
present it in a different way. Some are
yeah,
totally
yeah,
open and they'll be knocking on your door, yeah. But others, you have to show it in a different way, you know. But at the end of the day, that's where we're going.
yeah, yeah. And what are you seeing? Are you seeing big shifts in the types of clients that are coming to you? What's coming up right now? Are there particular patterns or
A lot of fear. There's the
okay.
fear, and I suppose, look, maybe it's me as well. Sometimes we attract the people that we have been, or the bit we're healing or healed, whatever. But look at my history. It's abandonment, it's rejection. They're the core wounds that I have worked through. So a lot of people, and especially female entrepreneurs, that's what they present with. You've got the people pleaser because, I will bend over backwards for you because I need you to like me. Okay, fear of rejection.
Yeah.
You have got people that they're constantly sick. They're in the victimhood. Yeah, it's like I'm a victim. Come and help me. Blah blah blah. That's another wound showing up. You've got which I call the martyr. Yeah,
Mm,
you have got the
I'm
perfectionist.
so busy.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it.
So that doesn't
You have the
right.
perfectionist. Everything has to be perfect. I cannot put it out there. It's like my image, my brand, my copy. Everything needs to be perfect because God forbid if I get judged. Because if I get judged, I'm not liked and therefore I'm being rejected.
Mm,
So
yeah.
it's there's different roles that we play in childhood that we bring out into our lives and then into our businesses and
Mm,
jobs and blah blah blah. But it goes back to that core wound, which is us.
yeah. Yeah. And do you see it changing? Like it just strikes me at the time we're on. on the planet. And you're doing work also, I know, I find very interesting around the land.
Yes,
And
we will get there.
yeah, no, but it's just there's no rush on that, but no, it's just it brings me to it because a part of the healing, which I feel, and I say every time I think, and I know we're never done. Well, I don't know, maybe we're whatever we, we're maybe. How do you, yeah, how maybe talk a little bit about that? How do you see? Because I often have that conversation. I hear people say to me like, "Oh yeah, I've dealt with it, like I kind of done and I'm ready to go." I'm on my mission, as if it's all. How do you see healing in the sense of, even in your own life, that
It's like that
process?
bubble. It's like that bubble I was talking
Just
about,
keeps
that
going.
glowing milk. If you think you're done, you're definitely not done.
Yeah.
It's like that saying,
I know.
I used to think I knew everything
I
you
know.
until you realized you didn't. It's a constant change and shift. And, maybe we think we have sorted our own stuff out. But guess what? You've got your ancestral stuff. Yeah.
Mm,
So
that,
I've done study with Caroline Strawson, who is the somatic informed trauma work. And she says it goes back 7 generations. So in your DNA, you were carrying the trauma of 7 generations. And I presume
yeah.
we will pick and choose which parts present, like our genes. It'll come
Mm,
through them. And that's what we're carrying far back then. And we have to do that healing as well.
mm. And is that, would you be doing that work with clients also?
Yeah, yeah.
That comes up.
It depends. You
I
come to me.
know.
I
I
have
know.
to figure you out.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's a little puzzle.
Yeah,
None of us, I know it's not an ABC, but
yeah.
what I find, I'm just wondering, is it presenting more? I have found my sense in myself, and again, I'm just like everyone, I'm just making my way through this, is that as I'm clearing more, I feel like there's more space. So let's say the channel that's in me is now, they're going, okay, great, now she's a little clearer, we can send some of this ancestral stuff through.
Yeah,
So that starts to show up.
it
So
does.
it's because if you're completely, like, there does seem to be an epidemic of numbness, around. I lived there myself for so many years
Me
and can
too.
be tempted back into it.
Mhm.
Not as much, but it's, so that, to me, is that, are you seeing, like, that seems to be being rattled a lot for people,
More and
rattled
more.
out of the numbness because
Yeah,
it's not who
like
we are.
no, exactly. But I suppose, look, the people on the healing journey are on their healing journey. There's more people coming onto that journey and waking up to that's what I'm seeing is it was here, now it's here, and it's expanding. Yeah, that the amount of people that are looking for this work, that are searching out your podcast, that are hearing stuff, it's expanding. And this is what I'm saying to you, doing this work and more people stepping into that healing journey are clearing the path for the younger people
Mm,
step into
mm,
things easier with more flow. Yeah,
yes.
less blocks.
Yeah. So it's a
Yeah.
lovely thing for people to know, if you're doing this work and feeling like, oh my God, what is this all about? It does, yeah, that's a lovely, lovely to
You
understand that, because I think we all need to feel whatever we're doing, in some
can,
way we're making a difference. Like, I think the core
yeah.
of it is service to others. We're all part of the whole. So, the difference of service to self, which is what we've all been conditioned to do, dog eat dog, earn money, survive, go home to your little box and out again and grab what you can and bring it home into your little box. And that isn't who we are. That is what
No,
they call, isn't it, the inverted matrix, or whatever you want to call it. The true nature of us is service to others.
it
And
is. It
isn't
is.
it?
And going back to what I just said there, if you think about it, if I'm clearing my ancestral stuff today for myself, I'm clearing it for those 7 generations going back. But who else am I working on? The 7 generations to come,
Mm, yeah.
and all of the DNA vibrations around that as well. It's
Yes.
huge. It's a
It
huge
is.
piece.
That is just, yeah, that is huge. And even if you don't, like, I don't have children, I often thought that, but I don't think that matters. I think sometimes you don't have children, maybe because there's more space. God, I wouldn't have had space with the life that I've lived. My God, to be, I don't know if I'd be alive, but and I admire anyone who does, because it's one of the, I'd say, most difficult jobs,
Mhm.
in a
Yeah,
way,
I don't
beautiful,
have
but
kids either, so yeah.
yeah, it's a challenge and there's beauty in everything, but it strikes me, yeah, there's an availability on one level to be doing it for the broader, because we're all related and we are all family. I've always struggled, I don't know about you, but not struggled, and I think it was my difficulty in fitting in because I was never in, and you obviously losing your family, but I've never felt I was never really in a conventional family apart from my parents,
Yeah.
and I often struggled with that idea of people to, oh, you look after your family. And it was very something to me felt there's something wrong with this because we are all one family. We're a
Mhm.
humanity. So if I don't fit into that box, then where do I fit? If
You're one of the black sheep. Come on over here.
come on over to the black sheep.
God.
I know, but you know what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
differing that's coming out of the service to self as well, I feel,
Yeah.
because there's nothing wrong with providing for your family, but that in itself is just a small unit within the bigger. I think we're being called to something for everyone. We're all service to the whole. It's I don't know, it's something I feel is very, yeah,
If
I just feel it more now. It's
we were all service to other, can you imagine the universe we'd live in, the world we'd live in?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Well, we're moving towards that. How do you know, if we just, I think the ancestral stuff is so powerful. And do you think also from doing the work, maybe we might talk a little bit about the ancient spiritual
Yes.
tours, because I think that connects,
Well,
depending where you are, firstly, as well on the planet and where you chose, I believe, to incarnate, also must play a role in your healing and your mission or purpose or whatever. How
yeah.
do you see all that? Because it's beautiful that you have all these aspects. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose, look, as a kid, I grew up in this beautiful country, and the Rocket Castle was right beside me, the stone circles beside me, there was a dolmen over the road. Like, it was very normal. And it was like, oh, that's some old Irish thing. Oh, God, my mother's taking me here, or we're going there. And it was like tourism. I suppose after after I came home and did some of the energy work, I was like, I was always attracted to these places, and I was like, what's going on here? And I think the more you like, look, I could tell you this site here, we'll say Lochgar, over the road from me again, 20 minutes. Here's Lochgar, this is what it means. This is why there's 113 stones, A, B, C, and D. It was this age, and this is what it was used for. But nobody knows. Nobody actually knows. Um, and I was thanking you earlier for sending me Rory Duff's information and a video that he did recently, because he said the very same thing as what I totally believe. The stones, the sites, the lands are our teachers. So I will give you the story if you want the written story, but I would
Mm.
rather you come and you touch stones, you sit in the land and you breathe and you connect deeply with the land, because we're speaking about the ancestors. The land, the stones, it all holds the trees, the grass, it all holds the vibration of who your ancestors were, what they went through, the healing they required, the gift you can give back to them. The land holds it all. It's
Mm.
it's
Everything's conscious. Stones, isn't it? Every single thing everything.
It's just the vibration, the
Yeah,
frequency. The
yeah.
only difference between you and a rock is the
Mm.
frequency. And I suppose the level of spirit, or who knows, who knows. But once we go to these sites and we sit quietly and just connect, who knows what's going to come forward. And like for me, I went to Egypt last November, just as a bit of homework, for the ancient spiritual tours. Oh
Oh,
my
the hard
God.
going. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that was 14 days of my life that felt like another lifetime in a lifetime. Yeah.
Wow.
And like the just to be there in your feet on the land. And I do believe I have a connection there. You're called back to these places for a reason.
Mm.
It's taken me nearly 6 months to land. Yeah. It was such a huge shift and a change. I can't put it in words. I'm even beginning to tear up even thinking of
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that is what our country has to offer the people that it's calling in as well, you know? And you could be just up the road and you haven't been to one of these sites. And it's to connect with that energy, the land, the ancestors, just to be. That's it. That's all you have to do. Just to be
Mm,
open to receive whatever it is. And guess what? You mightn't even know you're receiving when you're sitting there, you
mm.
know? Especially if it's new to you and you're like, what the hell am I doing here? It might be a
It
few
could be
weeks in.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's like,
And do you feel, I've heard people talk that the shift, there is this shift going on in the grid and the energetic, like even the ley lines that say that a lot of these things may shift as well in terms of places we went to and let's say, them being manipulated. I mean, my
mhm.
sense is I go with where I feel drawn, and we have to start trusting ourselves and our bodies as to you know, um, what's your sense of what's
I think,
happening?
yeah, I totally get this ley lines. This is why I'm so excited for the video you sent me. I'll be right down there. Beautiful site. This beautiful abbey is only 5 minutes from my door, and I will be down there later on to check it
Wow.
out, where two huge ley lines cross over. But um, things shift and change anyway. It's like the meridian lines in your body. You've heard of the meridian lines.
Mm,
It's like where
yeah.
the acupoints,
Mm,
they move, you know? So the meridian lines of the earth, which are the ley lines, the lines, they will shift and move as well. Will they be totally vanished and degraded? Maybe there's an upgrade coming. I personally don't know. I'm tapping into what's there at the moment and getting the information that is sitting there in our lands for us now. Because for anything to shift and upgrade, we need to understand what is there and integrate the learnings, the teachings, the experiences of the people that walked those lands before us. Does that make sense?
it does. It
Yeah.
feels like we have to sort of become one or even acknowledge, develop that relationship. I think it's like a person. If you're just, if we're all mindlessly walking around and sort of separated from the earth, which we have been really, even to the basic of our shoes and just the way we're living,
Yeah.
you can, to me, I nearly feel, once you start healing, you start feeling, and that's
Yes.
hard. And then
Yes.
you start to feel everything. And
Yes.
I can often find myself on the land outside somewhere feeling pain, like feeling
Yeah. Yeah.
really
Totally.
feeling.
Yeah.
And the pain of the land nearly and the pain of our ancestors, maybe of us shutting down our not maybe unconsciously our connection with it. Like it just feels to me we have to become, not have to, but that is the calling, as you said, to go out, connect, become one, to listen to, like we
With
are one
yeah,
with the
exactly.
land.
And I mean, there is, and I can't tell you who said this right now, right? But there is a theory that there is a layer of energy over Ireland, maybe the world, but in particular over Ireland, the Emerald Isles, to where
Keep
is this
the
coming from? There's like 16 layers of protection to protect from the real essence of who we be.
yes,
And it's when we go into these sites and that energy is coming up, that's where we get to tap into that true essence. That's my belief.
yes,
And yes, you're talking about some sites are um, manipulated for maybe the wrong reasons, but there are other people going in there and manipulating back to the right
yeah,
vibration.
yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
there's that spiritual war going on with the site.
yes, yeah,
And some sites are just used too much. You've got a herd of tourists going in there constantly. I absolutely love Newgrange. I've been there twice. I've been in the chamber. I think it was 12, 12, 21, 12, 12. I got in there. Um, but it's a fast energy. It's like the herd of tourists that are being put in and around. That's the energy you feel from
mm,
it, and it's being diluted. And I mean, yes, we need people to go see these sites and experience these sites, but allegedly there's another place quite near there, the very same, and not Nout and Doubt that I'm talking about, but maybe over farther over. I'm not. I can't even. My brain is
yeah.
gone right now. Where's
Yeah.
the tower? Where's the tower
Is it
over there?
further?
near Blessington, there's a tower.
Yes, I don't. Yeah.
Glendalough, near
Yes.
Glendalough,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
around that
Yeah.
area, there is another Grange, just as even bigger and better than New Grange. And it is
Mm.
those little places where we need to tap into, where it hasn't been infected by photographs and you know what I mean, the whole
Yes.
run.
Yes.
And
Do, and how do you feel about it? Said that Tara, I've been to Tara. It's only recently I've been feeling the call to go out more, like in the last
yeah,
couple of years, and wanting to find places sort of off the beaten track a bit. But I did go to Tara, and I have to say, I went and I don't even know what happened. About 4 hours
wow,
disappeared on top of, is it the Mound of Hostages?
okay.
I went with a friend and I wasn't even going to climb up it. And I said, oh, what's this? And I stood up there and this American woman appeared. And next minute, all I can say is I think we went through some portal. She started channeling, she started everything. It was just the most profound experience. And next minute it was, oh my God, they're closing. And I had to leave. But that was my experience there. But it's said that it's, the heart, well, Ireland is
Hmm.
the heart chakra of the world.
I have never been to Tara. I've never felt that pull to go to
Yeah.
Tara, but I, like you, I must go. And I've heard so many stories like your story.
Mm.
Just the
And I
bizarre.
never walked around much and I never expected much. I sort of looked at it and went, and there wasn't many people there that day. Oh, and I just walking towards something said, oh, I must go up here.
Yeah.
It was I mean, and literally there was a rave. I mean, might sound crazy. A raven appeared, the wind swirled, and next minute it was 5 o'clock. It'd gone up
Wow.
there about 2. It's a tiny little mound.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But something very, and I think for me it was just that tuning in and really connecting with something happened there. It sort of shifted something in me. It maybe different people, we have different energies, we have different frequencies, we have different roles. We're all going to be drawn to different places. Like there isn't one place, as you say.
No,
All
no,
the
exactly.
tourists are being ferried on a more, I wouldn't say superficial level, really, in one way.
The honey traps, they're brought
Mhm.
to the places
Yeah,
that are
yeah,
organized
yeah,
for them.
yeah.
But
So
like
in
that,
terms of your tour, sorry, just to touch on, so with ancient spiritual tours that
hmm,
you're doing, how are you setting that up then, or how is that working?
we are going to one or two of the mainstreamy places. Like, you cannot not go to Bunratty Castle,
Yeah, of
and you
course.
cannot
Oh,
not
they're
have.
beautiful places. Yeah,
Oh, they
yeah,
are, and you cannot not have the or the beautiful food in the castle, and that whole setup with the music and the mead and all the authentic.
yeah.
You have to experience that, But we have got some amazing wells to take people to. Like there's a well up here in the Glen of Aherlow that is absolutely amazing. With they say it's from about 500 AD. There was an old monastery there as well. You've got the pillow stones, which are like stones with engravings, Celtic engravings and crosses that they used when they buried them. So the pillow stones. And a beautiful well, and it's just the water's coming up from nowhere, and it's just so surreal. And the energy there is absolutely beautiful. So our mission is to take people to the sites that we've loved, myself and Carl, and we've been traveling around since we met about 6 years ago to all of these different sites. Um, and it's to bring people to feel those energies. Like we'll be going to Lochgar. There's a beautiful stone circle with a waterfall down near Kinmare. Absolutely stunning in the middle of wilderness. And it's easy enough to get in there, so don't worry about walking and whatever. But it's just, wow, this exists. This actually exists.
Yeah,
And interesting
yeah.
you said about the energy. We feel the energy is not where the stone is, it's over to the
Hmm.
side. So sometimes these sites, the energy, maybe it's shifted and moved, or maybe it was designed that way.
Mm.
Yeah.
I've heard that about Tara as well.
Yeah.
And I think, well, I had gone to see Sasha Stone, I mentioned, who had come to
Yes.
Dublin, and he went up and made a documentary, a short documentary a few days
Yes.
later in Tara with a woman, Mary Costello. I don't know if you've ever come across her. She's an Irish druid, I think. And
Okay.
she was talking all about, again, something has been moved there. You can watch, anyone can watch the video,
Yeah.
and she has worked a lot in the area. So yeah, it seems that however you want to look at it.
See, it all depends on when you're talking about. It's very hard to pinpoint ages of stones and when they were put there and who moved what and where they were originally. Like there's another site we're going to take people to in Limerick, and it is not known at all. Okay, very few people know of it. And the custodial, the guy that owns the land that guides you through it, he will tell you that Tara is the decoy, that this is the original Tara. Like the king, like all around you've got Temple Hill, Temple this, Temple the other
Mhm.
thing. All the hills are called different temples because they were named after the different kings that were crowned on that land. He's got an amphitheater on the land, a natural amphitheater.
And
Absolutely.
you've been there, yeah,
I've been
obviously,
there a
yeah,
few
yeah,
times. Yeah.
wow.
And Princess Tia or Tia Tepe is meant to be the connection with Egypt there. Now, his theory is everything was here and went out and then came back in. Because, like, literally, we'll say Limerick, the water was much higher. So people
Mm,
could sail all the way in from Egypt into these areas and sail
mm.
back out. Like you've got Saoirse's grave in Kerry as well. I'm not even saying it right. And
Serious,
Circus, I know
Saoirse? No worse,
Saoirse's
is
the
it?
one. Saoirse's coming to me, but
Yeah,
I know. Um,
okay.
there's another grave down near Tralee as well, another Egyptian connection. So Egypt and Ireland were really, really connected.
Yeah, isn't there that book? Is it Ireland, Land of the Pharaohs?
I'm
Is that Michael Tazarian? Is it who wrote that book?
not sure now.
Yeah, there's a book I know. Yeah, so there is. What was your sense when you were in Egypt then? What did you feel? Did you feel a sense of that connection between Ireland and Egypt?
Definitely, definitely, and just yeah, I
Oh, I'm
you're
getting the
you're
shivers.
passing on
Oh, I
again.
know. Sorry, because it's drawing me. It's someone told me even years ago you're going to go to Egypt. There's some connection there, and I feel it. And then I've listened to. There's a guy I don't know if you know Robert Edward Grant. He's phenomenal guy. He's been in like he's over and back all the time. He's a
Mm,
mathematician. He does all this
okay.
sort of stuff and sacred geometry and does a
Yeah,
lot of work with Egypt. And it's just yeah, when you start finding yourself like
yeah.
what you said with the Rory, you're just,
Yes,
yeah, there's a
and
draw.
actually, Rory has an amazing stuff on Instagram about
Mhm.
Egypt, so go check that out
I
yourself.
will, I will. So yeah, there's that, yeah, that calling. Yeah.
But I actually think a lot of these places are connected with energy.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily, you know what I mean? It's the
Yeah.
harvest of energy, free energy, maybe Tesla, all of that stuff. We're going to see in the stone circles where they did, rituals and ceremonies. But did they even know what it was about? It was like the pyramids. The Egyptians didn't build them. Who built them?
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
predecessors. And what
Yeah.
were they really used for? I was sitting inside in the king's chamber, inside in the granite box,
Yeah.
and
That's
it's
what he
like,
was talking
yeah,
about. Yeah. He
what
slept there, I think, overnight.
did
Got to
he?
sleep there overnight a few
Okay,
times.
I got a better in there.
You'll have to do that next time. Bring your sleeping bag.
Love it. But that's
Yeah.
what that's the reason we set up Angel Spiritual Tours is we've so much here. Every field has a story, every stone has a story. And if you're feeling that call, you have to come, you have to experience it. And
Mm,
it's not a prescriptive, this is what it is. It's what do you think it is? And I think that's
mm.
where the healing, the connection is for people, you
And do
know?
you think, I know people have different views on this, but is there I just love as well when you're doing these tours. So, for anyone who's interested, and I'll put everything in the description box about your work and the Ancient Spiritual Tours of Ireland. I think it's a beautiful combination that your work as a
Yeah.
healer, the healing of the land, the healing of, say, working individually with you. Do you sort of bring that in to the tours as well, don't you?
Totally forgot to tell you that part. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, talk a bit about that.
We will be setting intentions, we'll be doing little rituals. I'm a sound healer, so I'll bring in the sound. We have one or two shamanic people coming in doing ancestral healing, land healing. You've got Carl who does right coach, so he will help you maybe start journaling, start to get you to bring that stuff up and onto a piece of paper. So it's all round. We're just bringing in so many different healing modalities uh,
Mm.
that we can fit in there that will work with the tours and with groups as well. So yeah,
And
it's
what's like,
exciting.
sorry, yeah, it's beautiful. And just when you say all of that, like to you, what's it all about? I've often found it's funny, like yeah, you say being the black sheep, and if you know, some people, the minute you mention the word healing, like they
Yeah,
run for the hills. It's like, what is this? And healing. To you, how would you describe? Because it makes sense to me. For me, the healing is all about coming back into this true natural vibration of who I am, this true essence, sovereignty, whatever you want to call it. This is who we are designed to be. This is who we are. And like, let's say the Mayans, or I don't know, other, you know, way back, this is the most organic, let's say, expression of who we are here, so that it's all about that. It's not, I think sometimes we can feel, is that what it, like, how do you, when you bring all of this together, what is it about for you? What are you, what's
it,
driving this in you, all of this work?
it's it's like what I said earlier. It's the knowing that when we're here, even talking, we're presenting with our personality is our coping mechanism. It is our traumas. It's our experiences. And it's all that DNA that's coming down the 7 generations as well. And it is getting that balance and awareness, self-awareness of who I be. And is this bit here, can I shed that and let it go? Is that serving me? No, I can let it go, and letting that go, and then inviting something else in. And it's about, like, for me, you've got people that will say this is like a line in the sand. Underneath here, you have a lot of people operating from a lower consciousness. So they're angry, they're pissed off, they're depressed, they're frustrated, whatever those words are. You've got this level here, and I kind of live on this level, maybe a little bit higher. And then you've got the higher vibrations. I think in our bodies on planet Earth, our job is to raise up through the consciousness and not be living in the carrot soup down here. It's
The
up.
carrot soup. Like
You know,
carrot soup, yeah.
it's up here we need to be in the joyful, airy space. And it's not being airy fairy, it's being grounded, but actually having the joy, fun, aliveness, the vitality, the wow, look at that tree, it's so green. How amazing is that? It's the simple things that bring a heightened energy within you. That's the spark that we need.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of
And
like, yeah.
yeah, if we all could live even just having a glimpse of that every so often. And I suppose I started in the carrot soup and I
Yeah.
got as far as that little level and I brought it up again. People that meet me say, "Oh, you're so bubbly and blah, blah, blah." But yeah, I can dip down, but it's about coming up here again as fast as possible.
Yes. Isn't
Yeah.
that the key? When you start doing this work, you can go out, over and back or whatever, but you can come back quicker. I've found that in my life. I can come back quicker
Yeah.
than, because it's a natural state. We are energy in motion from what, you know, I think I always try, and I always feel I come back to this because I think it's at the core, or for me, and it feels like everyone I speak to, it's sort of at the core of who we are, and that our natural, if you're talking about nature and the land and the organic, we're sentient. We're designed to feel
Yeah.
life, like we are life, we have senses, but the
Yeah.
way we have been brought up and all which we talked and you talked about earlier has numbed so many of us, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of this grief, so we have to come through that carrot soup, as you said, and know that that's a sort of a passion for me, to know there is a way through. It doesn't mean, like you said, it's all light all the
Oh yeah,
time,
no.
but
Oh.
you've sort of come out enough to know, you've become conscious to know, this is what's available. I
Mm.
will dip down because I'm human and I'm going to experience ups and downs like you
You
know.
have to. You
Yeah,
have
but
to.
it sounds like like you as well show, no one say show, whatever way you want to look at it, but a very traumatic sort of
Mm.
ejection out of that, to which could have been another choice, as you said, for you to come up and feel. You had to go through. Would you say that's a big part of it? You had to feel all of
Yes.
that. You
Yes.
had to feel
I
it. There was
think
no easy way through that.
I think if my mother, and I love you, I think if my mother was still alive, I'd still be a hotel manager.
God, I think that's a line to put on. I think you should write a book with that title. I think that's brilliant. That is the greatest thank you to a mother,
Yeah.
really. That is, I mean that in all sincerity now. That is a genuine, as you described, the spirals and the
Yeah.
circle, and we're all energy interweaving, and we're all playing a role. And sometimes we play a difficult role in each other's life, don't we? We
Yes.
play a hard
Exactly.
role and we piss each other off and we trigger each other. And sometimes I want to run from the hills and find all the nice people who won't trigger me. But that isn't, that is, that is the beauty when you can start to see it. I interviewed a woman and she said that she's a shaman, and she was sort of saying it's not that life doesn't happen to you. It's sort of you come into a more neutral place in yourself. So you're
Yeah.
coming, this is the journey out of this linear into sort of the more 0 point, where we're back at sort of our true essence, and you have a different perspective on all of these so things. Is that what you'd see? Because I suppose as your frequency rises, your perspective, you can hold more
Yeah.
perspectives.
Yeah, and one of the words I like is the lens. The lens where
Yes,
you need to
yes.
see is different. Um,
Different goggles we put on, I often
yes,
say. So
yeah,
yeah, we're
totally,
putting on,
totally.
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
when we see the world in a different way, we understand people in a different way, and then we can react in a different way. Um,
Mhm.
but going back to where you were on about there, where it's not all happy, blah, blah, blah. When we present like that and we do it ongoing, for me, that's spiritual bypass. It's like, oh, happy, woo, yay. And it's like I'm ignoring my shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I've parked it, I'm ignoring it, and I've done that for years myself. I did it. I
yeah.
did it for a good 5 years. I parked it and it's like, just get on with it. And it's when you start to wake up and become more conscious, it's like, right, I need to open that cupboard now.
But do you think it always rears its head for
Oh, it
people? I
does.
mean, yeah, yeah, at some point.
It does. It'll keep, look, it will, like everything comes back to the body as well. There's a load of trauma vibration over there. Something might happen to you 7 years ago and it slowly comes in and in and in and in into the physical. So energetically, spiritually, it's a dis-ease. Then it becomes a disease
Yeah.
physically. And that's normally when we start running around and trying to fix and to do all of these different pieces. But this is the part of being human. We hear the alarms going off. We hear them going off. We ignore them, we ignore them, we ignore them. And it's only when our arses get kicked is when we decide to do something. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And do you think there'll be for the younger generation? I just get such joy when I think of younger people. Used to work with teenagers in schools, and I just had such. We hear so much sometimes bad things about them. I just think they're just. The few that I have connected with recently, what I really was taken by is there's a beautiful combination of sensitivity and a core of them knowing on some level what they're here to do. They won't maybe be as manipulated. I'm not sure of the
I
right
think they
words,
need
but
it. I
yeah.
think they need that because, like, look at childhood now. Look at being a teenager now. You've got social media, you've got videos, you've CCT, you've got all these rules. Like, the amount of responsibility that is on even a 10-year-old is massive. Sure, look, we were only thinking of climbing a tree. You know,
Lying on your bed, levitating or astral
exactly.
traveling, as
There
you
you
were.
go. Well, like, yeah, I don't know what I want to be a teenager or a child or even in my 20s
Mm,
right now. It's a very scary place. Imagine even school
mm,
right now.
mm,
That's scary.
yeah.
Scary back in our times. It's even scarier now. And especially, the things that are going on in the world, the upheavals. And I get
Mm,
it's what we need to bring consciousness up. All the shit's coming up to be seen and healed. The truth is out there. And yeah, that's the heal.
that's the
To
heal.
heal it. See it. You have to see it to heal it.
You do have to see it to heal it, and you have to feel it. Oh, just
Yes,
sorry, I'll
yes,
ask though.
yes.
I keep saying you do see, feel, heal, but
You go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is the way. And just to finish up, Dee, what would be your, I suppose, your, I just love to hear, because I sort of think it brings life to something by talking about it, but your sort of vision or dream, or where all of this for you, like how do you see it unfolding, or what would you like to picture being part of in another, or what would you like to look around and see in the next
You mean
10
in general,
years?
is it?
Yeah, just in general for you and your life, and like what's driving you through this, like you're driving you, you know what I mean, what's calling you through your work as a healer and on the land. What's,
Whew.
where would you, or do you have a sense of like, it's not even like, I know there's no perfect place to get to, but a
Hmm.
dream of how you might see how we work with maybe the land and Ireland and our own healing? How would you like to see that evolve?
I suppose more people to wake up to what we have here and to actually tap into. You see, it takes the diaspora, it takes the people that have left. Yeah, the Irish American that their grandmother 10 years ago, 10 generations were Irish, to come back to show us what we have. But what if we could tap into that, you
Mm,
know, and actually, yeah, like Lucker, it's always got a constant set of people there. You go to that stone circle, there's probably not 5 minutes where there's not someone there. And that in itself is like reverence, and it's like tapping in and uh, being respectful to the land and the ancestors, and go, it's just like, hi, just saying a little prayer here and we're moving off. And that's beautiful. And if we could just bring that more into our lives as well, and it's that kindness that's been missing, and I think it's coming more into to us, that are a bit more awake and aware of the situations. So it's about the empathy and kindness to the people that are not aware and awake of themselves.
mm,
That means, so I get triggered, right? I'm not going to blow up to Mary because I can see where she's at, and coming from a place of non-judgment.
mm.
This is the judgment that creates the issue and the separation.
Yeah,
If we could all operate from that space more often, it would be a lovely place to be. It is a lovely place to be, but sometimes I live in my own little bubble. I don't watch telly, I don't watch whatever. I watch people like you and podcasts and
yeah.
that because that brings
Yeah.
me up. But
Mm.
what if telly was like this? What if the
I
radio was like this?
know.
What
I
if the
know.
newspapers were like this?
Yeah.
And that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if we
Yeah.
could do what we loved to be doing, and to be able to make money from that to survive, whether it's called money or whatever it is, but it's that to be able to sustain ourselves in whatever way that looks like from our passions and our likes and our loves.
Beautiful. And you
Yeah.
think that's, yeah, and that's I
I'm
think
hoping.
where, yeah. No, but I do think I love beautifully what you said, because that to me comes back to the whole point of heal, because when you start to heal your own stuff and you start to see it and you start to feel it, then you can start to be, I'm noticing a compassion does start to open up, and a non-judgment, not all the time, but it starts to open up. And that is the point, because we can't find each other and connect with each other if we're all going around locked in our own pain, really, can't we
No.
not? So
Oh, the rat
it's
race
a
then.
way out of that, isn't it? Into, and I feel, and I'm on this path myself of finding a way to live totally following your heart that is sustainable. And I
Yeah.
think that is possible. And I
Yeah.
think that's a beautiful wish for all of us, that and we have to choose that. We have to start choosing it.
Mm.
It's not always easy. I think we're going in a bit to the, sometimes you're pushed into it. I was pushed into it. You were pushed into it. We're all in different ways, but I think we're moving into a time where there is there's more
Choice.
options,
Yeah.
and we can't. And the more of us that choose it and don't choose the other,
Mm.
isn't it?
And
The more we're creating it.
And that's what it's going to take, is more people stepping into their power and saying, "Do you know what? That's not for me. I'm doing this." And it is sovereign. It's that piece. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I think I'm going to leave it on those words,
Cool.
because I love that. thank you so much, Dee O'Connor,
Thank
and
you.
heal. You are a beautiful, just to say you're a beautiful person inside and out, but you're a beautiful representation of the energy of Ireland and what it is to be Irish. And I know that there's many different colors and flavors, but it just exudes out of you. I really does. I
Oh,
can
thank you.
feel it. So thank you for all you're doing in the world and in the lovely Tipperary.
Thank
And it isn't such a long way to Tipperary, depending on where you're coming from. But please do, everyone. I'm going to put all of these contact details here. So a huge range of healing arts to support you as a female entrepreneur. Do you work with all sorts? I don't say all sorts, but
Yeah.
is that
Look,
your main area or?
it's what they call the niche.
Okay, the niche.
The niche. But
So,
yeah, if it
so
resonates
yeah,
and I can contribute to you, it
yes.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Ancient Spiritual Tours of Ireland, have you some tours coming up? I'll put the details.
We
Or
have
I'll,
one in
yeah.
October, which is a short one in
Okay.
your county Tipperary.
Oh, lovely.
Tipperary, Limerick,
Lovely.
to be honest.
Okay.
And then we have one in April, which is a 10-day, and it'll be all around Munster and all the beautiful magical places. And that's all the details are on the website, which you'll
Beautiful. I'll
yeah.
add them all here. So thank you everyone for listening, and thank you so much, Dee. And until the next time, take care.
Bye. Thank you.